makes most women start a business? Is it passion, money, or freedom? Welcome to Female Founders, the podcast that takes you behind the scene with women who are founders and CEOs to help you start and scale a successful business of your own. I am your host, Nagelia de Ravin.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Female Founders. In today's episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Laura Ponticello. Laura is a best-selling author and founder of Divine Phoenix, transforming lives through storytelling and mentorship. Her mission is to empower and inspire, bridging personal growth with success. From coaching industry leaders to fostering community connections, Laura's work elevates voices, sharing wisdom and positivity. Good morning, Laura. As a three-time best-selling and award-winning author, what inspired you to found Divine Phoenix, and how does it reflect your mission to create positive change in the community?
First off, thank you so much for sharing dialogue with me. The concept of Divine Phoenix is really based on the subject matter of transformation and rebirth. And I think in particular, for women, we are constantly evolving and changing. What happened is I met so many people who had a powerful story through my coaching and writing life. And I felt the impotence to hold space, to listen to their journey. And as part of listening, if you think about it, we learn, we garnish, new knowledge from that. And there was a collective undertone that through our evolution and transformation, a spirit of resilience and a spirit of growth existed. So there were so many stories coming. I decided to start Divine Phoenix with the goal to really share positive stories of transformation. And that's really kind of taken on a life of its own.
But you are also a publicist, right?
Yes. In the publicist world, that's been an evolution in itself. Originally, I was working with people in the book and media industry and more CEOs. And what's happened is I've expanded that out to really attracting energy that I feel is going to give back to the community or people in the world. Because as I've evolved, I realize how important not only human connection is, but leaving a positive footprint of change. And so I like people who tend to have a philanthropic, roots or are using their products to enhance or enrich the lives of others. And I've really met some amazing people. I thrive in the PR world because I enjoy that narrative story. How do we create the best optimal outcome with a product or service, but how do we come together in joy? And so I've done everything from launching New York Times books to going on the road with people, celebrity memoirs, to entrepreneurial stories and entrepreneurial products. And part of what I've realized from that is that collectively we have a human connection. And part of that is how do we share our stories that can offer the world kindness and joy, but also empowerment.
But when you said that you help them from getting ready to go to the to tour and things like that, do you also help in the part of writing the book, getting the book ready to publish and all these things?
Yes, I actually was so moved by so many of the stories and teaching the workshops and in my publicist life that I started an incubator or really a program offering. And I took my permanent homestead and used that as the writer sanctuary where people would come in and tell their stories. We would set an intention to be respectful, to open up our creative muses within us, to allow the divine to work through us, to listen to each other's stories. And incredible things happened over a 9.5-year period. 8 best-selling books were birthed by that. I found a lot of joy in doing that. But if you think about the power of stories, you were telling me about one of your personal desires too, to work with your son someday. and publish stories for yourself. Stories can elevate us. Like when I think about childhood books, Dr. Seuss, there were so
Oh,
many
yeah.
books. And there's also forgotten history that are not in books. It's that oration when we can tell our loved ones where we've been and where we plan to go. But for me, probably the number one thing is I find empowerment. And I'm the container space, I suppose, for amplifying each other to help have the courage to tell their story.
But as of right now, are you still doing both coaching and also still help in the book part, or are you just doing the coaching part?
I'm doing the coaching part. I still have an indie publishing company, but I've spent, more of my energy on how do you birth a story? How do you bring it to market? How do you publicize it after that? But everything from concept through publication, I'm kind of an anomaly because I go across different genres and I kind of lean into this magical toolbox and say, where can I use my God-given gifts and talents and try to follow that direction?
And I love it. When you follow your heart, things is a lot more easier, isn't it? A lot simpler too.
Well, when I look at a younger version of myself, that woman who maybe was 34 years old, I worked in corporate America. I was a very high achiever and very fortunate that a strong work ethic helped me meet and connect with a lot of people. Now, fast forward, some years have passed. I want to be able to share my innate wisdom. And it's that knowing it's not unique to me. We all have wisdom within ourselves. And it's a choice on where we want to spend our collective energy. And so for me is I want some space that I can also be present in life instead of running from place to place to place, which is a challenge for a lot of business owners, and in particular women who are the roots of their family and juggling all these things. So when I say present time, when I meditate or take a walk, it helps me discern more, have more creativity, and open up that pathway for a lot more inspiration.
Yes.
I've won a number of awards. I'm an Amazon #1 bestselling author, and
Sure.
and part of that has been, I think for me, the writing style is a conversational style where it's like two friends sitting down and getting to know each other and sharing wisdom along the way. And my first book was interesting. It was called Live the Life of Your Dreams, 33 Tips for Inspired Living. But I didn't want that to just be about my voice. So I interviewed 1,000 women on what inspired them in their everyday life.
1,000?
I did. And I had a lot of events that I was doing at the time. And I learned so much. Common themes were around self-care, self-worth. But I met this one woman who had a great story she told me about having what she called a container of joy. And literally in her garage, she encouraged her family to write out an intention and to also take their change, any extra change they had. So they'd put, a penny, $1, but each time they put something in their container of joy, they also wrote something they were grateful for. And then at the end of the year, they cashed in the container of joy and did a family activity or something that brought them joy. I expanded that out. Fast forward, during the pandemic times, it was heavy for a lot of us, especially those in the PR event world who are used to kind of uplifting people and just in life. So I took the time to write the Book of Joy, Overcoming Obstacles. And I thought, that would be good as a soundbite to talk about this concept of container of joy and how do we in our everyday lives find joy. Joy comes in so many different ways and is defined differently. But I love listening to people's stories and learning from them.
When you look, like when you say, when you're looking at joy, it's all over us, right? It's around us. But a lot of time too is the place we are in at the moment of life. We don't actually realize that we are surrounded by joy. So we take all the negative things and we putting them in our lives instead. And I love what that lady did by having that joy and then be able to have the entire family play a part of it. And I think that's awesome because you know what? Sometimes the sadness of our own families pass on to us, right? We carry them with us. Like if we see a family member suffering, we take that
Mm-hmm.
and we carry it. And then that family member might not even know about we are doing that to us, to ourselves. So I don't know, you're right. Joy is surrounding us. It takes me a while sometimes to realize it that there's always a piece of joy around me. It's just me that has to be open to accepting it and then make it a part of my life so that I can also have.
Well, I think in talking to you prior to the call and this live podcast, you are exuding joy. I think joy can be defined differently, and joy can change at different times in our lives. You know,
Yes.
if you think about children, children have such a wonderment. And what happens as we age, we put all these burdens of responsibility on our shoulders, and many of us become caregivers for our parents. And somehow there's a stigmatization that if people are suffering around us, we can't feel joyful. That's the exact time
Mm-hmm.
we need to exude
Joy.
joy, to hold someone's hand, to sit with a cup of tea. And so one of the things I do is I each day select a different mug that I'm going to drink my teacup out of. And I ask my body, what type of tea does it need? But more than that is I infuse a frequency. So I love drinking a cup of
Mm.
joy. And how that goes is you basically say, okay, today my intention is to feel joyful, to be joy, to exude joy, to become joy, to walk with joy, to bring joy to my work. And as you're sipping that tea, you're actually feeling within yourself an inner smile. You're feeling contentment. You're feeling joyful, and you're literally carrying that with you all throughout the day. And what happens is if that person cuts you off or you have a challenge with a customer or a client, use that bathroom break or sitting in your car for a few minutes to remind that mojo self is I have the ability to be joyful. Like nobody can steal your mojo. No one can steal
Yeah.
your worth. And other days I say, wow, I am peaceful because I need peace a lot more than I need joy. However, I can be joyful and
Yeah.
peaceful at the same time. so so I then go into my garden and I start smelling the flowers because they make me joyful. You know, like scent is such a powerful thing
Yeah.
too. It's so the more we can have joy reminders like in our life, in our office, especially so many of us are working from home. What do you like to do that makes you feel joyful?
Yeah. And like you said, like scent, right? Let's say you make a cup of tea of mint. And even when you're making that, just smelling that, kind of like, that smells so good.
See, even how you did that, it was like, whoo, all of our weight went off. I am joyful. I am calm. I am creative. Oh my God, we're going to start magnetizing abundance because the more joy we feel, the more other people want to work with us, right? Because they're going to say, oh my gosh, wow, they exude a spirit of positivity. They're not sucking our energy, even though that's a strong word, because we don't know, maybe that person had a really tough day
Yeah.
and maybe life has been challenging, but we can choose who we're going to surround ourselves with, and we can choose how we react to situation. And you seem like like you exude joy.
Don't get me wrong, I have my moment, but I think one of the things that works for me the most is learning how to stop myself when I'm in that bad situation, right? When the moment comes where I feel like I'm aggravated, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm pissed, all of them in life, because we have them. We are
Mm-hmm.
humans. It's a part of our
Mm-hmm.
lives. It's that moment I have to stop myself like, wait, this is not the right thing to do. And think it again and make a different choice. And sometimes too, I have to be with myself, And when I say be with myself is, let's say that I'm with a customer on the phone, you being mean and angry. I will actually say, hey, can I give you a call back? I'll let me check on this for you. And the reason why I will do that is because I don't want to be in a place where that I feel like I need to take your angry into myself. So I will wait like 15, 20 minutes and I will think about it, come up with a solution. I'll give a call back. And when I give a call back, it's me that's calling you. So I set the tone
Mm.
how I want that conversation to go. And if I'm still unable to get you to a proper way, then I'm sorry, my path and your path shouldn't be crossing
I,
at all at any
I,
point.
I love what you said because you gave us a very practical daily tip. I kind of call that the sacred pause. So the sacred pause is a term that basically embodies how do I pause? How do I collect, calm, center myself? It's the centered space. And we're approaching business and connections from that space. And because, like what you said, we're humans, we're every part of the spectrum, right? We can't have passion without feeling anger at times. We
Right.
can't have intense love without feeling grief. We can't be resilient at times without overcoming challenges. So, as part of the human capacity of this full spectrum, is how do we ensure that we're approaching decisions from a centered space? Because if we approach it from a space of being off kilter or stress, it's not going to be in the highest and best good of either outcome. So, optimal outcome, your innate wisdom have said to yourself, I'm going to be the best version of myself when I show up, and I'm going to recalibrate myself. And let's face it, for me, I take a walk, but the concept of sacred pause, I take 15 minutes. I use my breath. I recalibrate myself. I write one line of gratitude because gratitude for me is a game changer and shifts any negativity I have almost instantaneously.
And also, I think people also that have children, for myself, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of time, what I will do is when I feel like I find myself in that place that life is just difficult, things are not working my way, and I have to remember my purpose. Why am I doing this in the first place, right? And my son played a big part of my purpose. So I will look at him sitting there drawing or doing something, and then he will come and give me a hug, and that was enough for me to remember that it doesn't need to be my way. There have to be a solution. I just need to step away. And I will just do that. I step away from it. Like, okay, I'm not dealing with this right now, period. I'll step away. And if somebody else is involved into it, I will call or I'll send an email and ask for certain times to come up with a solution with the problem. And that would be it. And I think that a lot of time we think that we need to solve the problem within that second. But when we are frustrated, when we are aggravated, when we don't have our mind together, we can't solve a problem. Whatever decision you're going to make today, you will regret it tomorrow because you didn't make that decision with a proper mindset. You make it out of negativity, you make it out of being not you. And I think that's one thing for me that works. Step away. Like you said, I like to meditate underwater. So I will go take a shower and stand under the water and meditate while I'm doing that. And sometimes I'll just sit there quietly. And even if my son can just hit me with a ball, I wouldn't even feel it because it's like I'm in a whole different world. I'm not even here on earth anymore. But these things, I do them. And then last, I love to go for a run. And when I go for a run, that's going to bring all my imagination out. The things that I was stuck on, I get unstuck when I'm running or taking a long walk. So those are the things that you can do. Sometimes as business owners, we need to step away. I know we have a company to run, right? We need to bring money. We have the family to feed. We have a lot. But is it really going to help you when you're burning yourself out? Um, are you going to see the money when you're buried 2 feet under the ground? You're not.
Well, you just gave us like so many great tips. That concept of, if you think about the concept of stepping away, you're using running as a vehicle. So the movement, right? Getting out and moving, even short bursts, walking, stretching, yoga, running, gardening, any kind of movement, even dancing, right? Think about
cooking, if you like to
right?
cook.
Cooking. Oh, cooking's a great one. We're shifting the energy vibration. We're saying, okay, something feels off within us, like almost like agitated or anxious. We've all felt anxious, and I'll speak for myself. You can't run a successful business and at times not feel pressure and anxiety because you're moving so many different parts. But part of that is, I love the shower analogy. I also do that. It's not an analogy. You're actually meditating in the shower. For me, is I'm clearing out my energy field. So when the shower water comes down, I'm seeing all the water, all the negativity literally going down the drain. And then the new light of the day, new inspiration coming over me, opening up my third eye, my intuitive center, so that I can be harmonized and in alignment. I used to run. I would love to start doing that again, but I think that power walking or gardening or cooking,
it's good.
Yes. And if you think about it, we each have a different toolkit. And in our toolkit, the question becomes, what are these healthy habits that we can do to not only thrive in our business and to not only cope? Like, we don't want to just cope in life. We want to live the most blissful, abundant, joyful life. And so part of that are these healthy habits, and we just have to try them to know what works for ourselves.
Yeah, pick something that you like. For example, sometimes in the middle of the day, I don't know, I feel like I don't have my energy to do anything within my company. Energy is just not there, and I'm just pushing myself, and that's not going to get me anywhere. Whatever I'm going to do that day, it's worthless to the company because my energy, myself is just not there. Well, I go to the kitchen, I put out my chicken legs, I start preparing my Jamaican style sauce, and I make myself very delicious Jamaican chicken.
Oh my gosh, I wish I
The
had
end
some of that
conversation.
right now. That sounds so darn
So
delicious.
that works for me. It's a way of, I'm not thinking anymore about the company. I'm not thinking about my staff. I'm not thinking about customers. I'm not thinking about anything but just what I'm cooking right now, which is my
Because you're
delicious Jamaican
totally
chicken sauce.
present. You are present in the act of being, and you're finding a gift and a joy in that act of cooking. For some, it's dancing. For others, it's gardening. But
Yeah.
what happens is, the challenge, right, for business owners is we push ourselves no matter what. And then what happens? Our well's totally dry. And how do you get water from a dry well? So why do we keep doing that to ourselves? It's like an outdated mindset that we have to keep working to achieve more. No, it's being in the ebb and the flow that allows us to have the fluidity. And it's saying, the whole point that a lot of business owners are business owners is they want some level of flexibility. We can work 100 hours and not achieve as much. We can work less than that, but be in the flow and have our most brilliant ideas. We're not defined by a clock. Instead, what we are is collectively creating and also having goals, of course, being goal oriented. But I love the cooking example. Gosh, that sounds so fun.
Actually, we go faster, right? Where we are within the right mindset. We go faster. So if you find yourself like looking at your company 5 years and it's not growing, I will say that look at yourself. Have you been burning yourself out just to make sure that you bring in $2 to the company? It's not worth it. At the end of the day, you're just gonna be in the same situation 10 years to come. You're going to find the other woman that you are or people you are networking with already growing, and you yourself in the same location. That's when you're doing something wrong. And the first thing I usually tell people is, look at your routine. What do you do every day? Have you done anything for yourself lately? So you should be doing. Go ahead. You were gonna say
Well,
something
I
else.
was thinking as you were talking, it's a mindset of how do you achieve success? Well, what is even success, right? So for some people, a life in balance is success. For other people, being able to take care of their family. For other people, it's inspiring and enriching other people. But part of that evolution in growing is, like in my case, that younger version of Laura would have pushed through, would have burnt the midnight oil.
Yeah.
And I also know, as a writer, believe me, there's creative periods where we're not leaving our desk. I say we because there's a part of an essence of creativity, our creative muse that's been knocking at our door and says, oh my gosh, I have a story, I have a message. And so a lot of times we're writing through the night in our pajamas, we're drinking water. But then when we come out of that creative high, we have to re-nourish, replenish. And the balance perspective is to do that all through the process. I'm just being honest. Those of us that are creators, we ride that wave, but the balanced creator says she better hydrate, she better have some fruit, she better do some stretching. I've been both. I've been the push through creativity and ride the wave creativity. And I realized that my body talks to me. Like if you think about it, your body's telling you when you need to rest. Your body's telling you when you need to stretch. Your body's saying, I need more water, please.
Listen to your body. You'll thank your body later, actually, when you get older, because that's when you feel all the pain.
Well,
as you're getting older.
And part of that is energy and time. I think, we're talking about that is how do we consciously decide how to spend our time? And what are our routine and habits to support that? There's the two bookends. There's in the morning and in the evening. And part of that is not only what are we feeding ourselves from a food, water standpoint, but what are we feeding our mind? How do we quiet our mind in the evening? And how do we positive self-talk so that we're motivated and excited about life? And as we go through the day, I talked about that sacred pause. You talked about cooking and running and so part of that is exploring what works. The other thing I noticed is you have a beautiful plant. Surrounding ourselves with vital aspects of life, whether it be a flower, a plant, breathing fresh air, that helps us have creativity and idea creation. Otherwise, stagnant air, how's that going to work?
No, I was going to say you have your book, Awaken to Your Amazing Potential, which is also a recent #1 bestseller in Amazon. So what key messages do you hope readers take away from this book? And why do you think it strongly resonates with your audience?
I think there's 3 key messages. The first message is that you are worthy of incredible, amazing things in your life. And your ability to create that does start with you, with your own self-perception. So part of the impetus of writing this book is to encourage the reader to go on a journey of self-discovery, to become aware of what are those thoughts that you're feeding yourself? What are your daily practices that you're engaging in? Where are those limited beliefs that might be holding you back from fully awakening into your personal power, into your self-worth? And then the toggle within all of that, or the undertone, are self-care practices, because to be the best version of ourselves, we have to hydrate, replenish, re-nourish ourselves. So I have 44 specific healthy habits, inspired tips, not only from in my life, but in other people's lives. What are they specifically doing to create not only self-awareness, the most beautiful, vibrant version of themselves, whether it be as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as an author, as a mom, as a nurse, as a teacher. It goes across genre. And the style of writing is really me just holding space like a best friend would be, to sit there and listen to those inner thoughts, your vulnerabilities, but more than that, to be a champion, to say, God, you are so worthy of joy and an incredible life. And what do you need to maybe just tweak within your daily practices to help you get there?
So in another word, by reading this book also you learn to how to appreciate yourself a lot more, love yourself, and be in the present, like we've just been talking about, all the things that we have been talking about.
Yes, it's instead of continually looking forward, we can have goals, we can have aspirations, and we can spend time having dream creation. I think that's really important, envisioning and feeling our future destiny. But there is a gift in today. And for me, that cup of tea ritual in the morning makes me completely present in the now. Going out in nature makes me present in the now. Your analogy of cooking makes you present in the now. Is how do we live life from the present state and also know that each day is a restart? Like, no matter what our past history is, many times we don't choose what has happened to us if there's trauma or very unexpected things, but we do have a choice in how we react and respond to that because we aren't defined by that ever. So a restart is that you get to choose how you're going to co-create this day for yourself.
So you have a workshop, Unleashing Creativity. What is the exercise or practice you recommend to someone looking to unlock the creativity, well, the creative potential?
Well, the first thing is the power of intention. I think the ability to get crystal clear on what your intention is. So, for example, say I get this from many people. Oh, I have a book idea in mind. And I say, okay, well, can you tell me about that book idea? So they start telling me all about their life story, which I mean, we each have an amazing story. But the concept of unleashing creativity is to say, can you sit for a few minutes and breathe and lean into your heart? If your heart was to write the story, what would your heart say? How would that narrative self come out? It's kind of saying, okay, the ego wants to say, hi, I'm so and so, and think a lot of times we're so defined by our jobs or our roles. Unleashing creativity is tapping into that internal creative muse. It's also could be a spiritual connection. And it's allowing the flow of energy through the heart center to come out. So we do an intention bowl setting where we light a candle and right at the onset of the workshop say, what is our intention for this gathering? And what is our intention for our story? And then we go through a process, say we're using music, like we might be dancing a little bit. We break into writing prompts, but we come back to the power of intention. So at the end of the workshop, we're saying, okay, let's come and sit around our intentions. We then burn them. And the reason why we burn them is we then ask those to be carried forward out into the world and for the energy to support us. And there's been very powerful things that have happened. And then the goal there is to remove any self-judgment. Because what happens when we're telling the universe that we're amazing, that we have a power, an inner power, that we have kindness, that we have a story, is that ego says, whoa, whoa, fear. How do I do that? How do I take a risk? I feel vulnerable. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And that's where I am a conscious vessel of creativity. I have the ability to share my creative voice, my creative story from a space of confidence and love. And then we get to the task of how do you then do that? How do you create that into books, product messaging, articles, etc.?
Wow, that's powerful. So pretty much at the end of that workshop, they should be able to know how to move forward.
Yes. And what happens is, like, I've had everything from people bring suitcases to a day workshop. There's no overnight offered, but they've been writing, people who brought 11 journals, people who have all these ideas in their head that can't even get it on a piece of paper. They literally are like, well, I don't even know where to start. That's a very common thing. Where do I begin?
Yeah.
Okay, where do you begin? It's let's breathe, let's lean into your heart. What's a truth you want to share with the world? Forget about in that moment being in book form, but we were sitting down and I said, so tell me about your story. Then saying, okay, how do we take bits of those stories? What is the writer's journey? And many times, entrepreneurs, lawyers, all different walks of life. I mean, we all have a story to tell. We don't have to be a writer to tell our story. Like you and I are sharing stories today. Podcasts allow people to do that. But the next phase of the journey is saying, okay, how do I then start with that first paragraph, that first line? And then how do I keep going? So just like we talked about healthy habits, there's writing habits that we want to stay in our mojo. And if it's like in my case, I know when I'm in the flow and I know when I'm not in the flow. And if I keep writing when I'm not in the flow, I'm writing garbage. Why would I want to do that?
What's the point? So how can people reach out to you for support, for guidance, especially with coaching?
They can go to lauraponticello.com or contact me at lauraponticello@icloud.com. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. In particular, on LinkedIn, I am a top contributor for public relations and coaching. And so I'm asked by LinkedIn to answer expert questions. Also, you can connect with me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Those are probably the best ways.
What is the last message you would like to leave us with today? I know, I'm putting you on the spot.
No, you're not. I wanted to lean into my heart as I answer that question, that anyone that's listening, no matter what has happened in your life, you are a magnanimous, beautiful, incredible individual, worthy of the most joyful, vibrant life, and that your worth is not defined by where you were yesterday, what you've accomplished. Your worth starts within who you are, that God cell, that love, that heart-centered. And the more we can put kindness out in the world and lift each other up, it's only going to help amplify our businesses, our stories. So I suppose if I'm to sum this up in one word, is love is the greatest path. It's the greatest choice we can have in any business deal and helping each other, and to believe in yourself. I believe in you.
I believe in you, and I believe in me. That's the number one key. I believe in me.
I believe in me. Oh, I love that. I believe in me. Woohoo!
I believe in me. Remember to say that every day. I believe in me. As long as you keep believing in you, you will be fine. Just keep believing. Keep moving forward. Don't ever stop. And Laura, thank you for what you said, because it was beautiful. And we need that in our lives. We need people to remind us that we are capable of more than we think. We can do more. And love is the key. It is still the key. I know that sometimes we put it aside, but when you give yourself a big hug and say, I love me, you have no idea. By the way, I do that a lot, not just in the podcast. I do it a lot. So I love me, and I love everyone around me, and I love you, and I love Laura. I love all of us, because we are all the same in kind of way, in a special way. We have the same. We are humans. We have that things inside us that connect us to one another. That's the reason why even when we are far away, when we get together, we feel like different, right? When we are in person, looking at one another, networking, we feel different. We feel powerful. There's a reason for that. So, hey, believe in you, love yourself, keep moving forward.
I love that. I love me. That sums it up. And speaking of powerful women, I'm very much looking forward to being part of your community at the She Possible conference that you have coming up. I think it's going to be incredible for us to come together and share knowledge. And I feel a gift in you loving yourself enough to do the work that you're doing for the world. Thank you.
Thank you for what you are doing, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Female Founders Podcast. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app or connect with us on womel.com. so that you don't miss our next episode. See you next time. Bye for now.